The non-stop radio show.
Non-stop hip-hop.
The hottest underground hip-hop and R&B show on this side of the net.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back once again to the hottest hip-hop and R&B show this side of the net. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining us here tonight on another edition of the non-stop radio show. I'm your host, EMillio, and I hope everybody out there is having a wonderful evening. If you haven't done so yet, make my evening wonderful as well by following us on Twitter at Nonstop Radio 212, or you can get at me on my personal Twitter page at the EMillio to stay up to date with the latest news and highlights from your favorite hip-hop show's favorite hip-hop show. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been rocking with the show from the start, and I want to say what's up and welcome to everybody out there that's just now tuning in as we're now coming back from the other side of the break. And I know I mentioned Twitter just a few minutes ago, and I know, just recently Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter, has, posted a question online asking everybody to be honest. Do you still call it Twitter or do you still call it X? Now, I know pretty much everybody out there that listens to this show knows my little saying, Twitter, X, or whatever it is you're calling it these days. So it's pretty much obvious to me to answer your question, Mr. Musk. Yes, I still call it Twitter. I will always call it Twitter. It will always be Twitter. And there's about, I would say, more than a couple of 100,000 out there that agree with me. Hit me up in the comments at the EMillio on Twitter. Let me know if you agree with that sentiment. Do you still call it Twitter or do you still call it X? But ladies and gentlemen, that's not what I wanted to talk to you about here tonight. I wanted to talk to you about the aforementioned Twitter, yes, because this is where this story originates from. But to give you some context, one of my tweets, or should I say one of my posts, recently started to gain a little bit of attention, and it kind of like sparked some kind of intrigue from, one of these mutuals out there that follows my platform and all that stuff like that, man. So, with that being said, I figured instead of, making a long drawn out tweet trying to illustrate my point and explain what I meant by my comment, I feel as though it's much better if you actually hear my voice telling you what it is exactly by what I meant from my tweet. So shout out to everybody out there that's tuned in and listening right now to the EJP Entertainment segment that is brought to you by Nonstop Media Group. And tonight it is the weekly topic we're getting into. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to set the vibes for you real quick. We're going to give you a little context of what we were talking about and what this particular segment is going to be touching on. So like I said, one of my comments started to garner a little attention, and I'm gonna bring it up for you here on the show tonight, and I'm gonna read it to you as best as I can because the printer's a little bit small, so if I happen to not see it correctly or I read something or I mispronunciate something, please, ladies and gentlemen, forgive me. I'm only human. But with that being said, we're gonna go to a post that was posted by saycheese.com, their Twitter account, and he asks the question: less people would be rapping if money wasn't involved. So he asked the question. This was brought on by Curtis Schoon. And he says the rappers aren't artists, they are capitalists. Remove all the monetary incentive and watch how quick people stop rapping. Now, I know a lot of people out there, they, rebutted that particular post with a comment of their own saying, well, it is all about money. It's a profession. I pretty much understand where they're coming from. So in response to Mr. Curtis Schoon, I said he's probably right. Hip hop has become the fast food business of the entertainment industry. And trust, I have spoken to many who exploit hip hop as their way to get in the door. Now, that particular comment that I put out there garnered the interest from a gentleman or individual, I should say, that goes by Punk Runner on Twitter, which is at PUNKRUNNR, and he goes by Net Runner as his actual name. So he comments under my post saying, fast food business of the entertainment industry, interesting take. Now, like I said, I figured it would be best if I explain myself verbally instead of typing out a long drawn text that would probably get lost in context given the current nature of social media nowadays. And even my point for even wanting to come and address this situation out loud is so that if anybody comes back to this take later on down the road, it don't matter if it's tomorrow, next week, or maybe even 10 years from now, somebody try to come back and throw it in my face about what I said, I'm going to elaborate on exactly what it is that I meant by my comment. So I say he's probably right. Hip hop has become the fast food business of the entertainment industry, and trust, I have spoken to many to exploit hip hop as their way to get in the door. Now, for those of you who are familiar with my platform, I do talk about hip hop being the fast food industry now, or the fast food business of the entertainment industry. And I know that gets a lot of eyebrows raising and all that stuff. And I understand why, because a lot of people don't understand the way I think. But just vibe with me for a minute and try to see if you can understand where I'm coming from. Now, this particular way I feel about the hip hop industry nowadays, you look at it from the era in which I come from. The era I come from is you had to be super nice, like extraordinary, to even get a sniff. Matter of fact, you had to be good to even be invited into a cipher of, other MCs, because that's how serious people took it. So back in those days, it wasn't about popularity. It wasn't about who has how many Instagram followers, how many likes, or how many views or streams your music video or your song may get on any given platform in which you have it posted. No, you actually had to be nice. There had to be word about you in your neighborhood. There had to be people that was checking for you in your community to solidify the fact that you was nice. And not only just being nice in your neighborhood, nice in your city, but it's also had to translate to regional success, having a buzz. It had to translate to national buzz that got you onto the radio, that got you into these various places, that got you through the door to get even a record deal. So, back then in the industry, it was a little harder because social media wasn't prevalent. In fact, social media wasn't even around as we know it is now. The social media that we had back in those days was magazines, it was radio shows, and it was any kind of other publication that's not connected to a smartphone or a tablet for you to go find out what was hot in the streets. It had to be the word of mouth that was getting around to people to let them know who was hot, who's buzzing right now, who's next. You know what I'm saying? Then radio shows like myself who specialized in, shining a light on these talented individuals like the Stretch and Bob Beto show, shout out to them, and other various platforms from back in the days. You had to make it to those types of platforms in order to get your buzz before you even got on to a record label. You know what I'm saying? So most of the cases, things was completely different. Let me not misspeak, because even back then, they had more artist development. Things like beat machines, software programs where you can record and produce your own music, those things wasn't readily available to people who was in a certain tax bracket, if you know what I mean. And what I mean by that, for those of you out there who may not understand and it went over your head, which is, I'm not trying to confuse you or nothing like that, but what I mean by that is the simple fact that, people wasn't able to afford the equipment that is so readily available and affordable these days back in that time. So yes, it wasn't so easy to go and make music like it is these days. So yes, you had to be a extraordinary talent to even get through the door, to even get recognized or noticed. Or you just going to be somebody rapping on your stoop, on your block, and in your neighborhood, and you're not going to get no kind of traction. Fast forward it to these days and times, you got people out there that's taking their own career into their hands. And I completely understand, especially right now, with it being so easy to get your hands on these particular materials and these particular things that you need in order to produce a record, put out a whole entire project or whatever it may have you. Those things are more readily available now. And then you got so many various platforms and so many various systems out there where you can get your music. You got streaming sites, you got shows like the Nonstop Radio Show, you got people that got playlists, curated playlists on Spotify and all that good stuff. You got so many different outlets and avenues now that you can go take your music to be independent. And I applaud those out there who do follow that route and do go the independent route and all that good stuff. Want to say, applaud to you and all that good stuff and everything like that. But what I am seeing nowadays, and this is to get to the point, what I am seeing a lot nowadays is you got people out there that don't have a real passion, don't have a real love for hip hop because of how easy it is. They don't appreciate those who came before them. They don't appreciate the way the foundations was laid and able to make way for a lot of you to do what you're doing nowadays. A lot of people don't appreciate that. And I'm gonna go back to a time when I had an interview with a artist. I'm not going to mention that artist's name, but if you are interested, you can go back and check out episodes of the EMillio Ekbar show, and you can go through the interviews yourself and you can find it. You know what I'm saying? Hint, hint, a little shameless promotion right there. But with that being said, we had an artist that was on this platform that never really ever partook or even indulged in the culture, but because of that individual's career in the genre of music that they was used to wasn't doing so well, he figured to take the approach to joining in the hip-hop community and exploiting that as his way to get through the door. So now, to explain that part of what I said about my post, yes, that's what I mean by that. When you are out there right now, and I'm not saying this to be stereotypical, I'm not saying this to sound any type of way or seem like I'm looking down at anybody, but what is the first usual job, other than drug dealing and all that other stuff, but what is the first usual job, or the first job that a lot of people have? Is fast food. Why? Because fast food is so easy to get into. You got so many people out there that need a job, whether they paying minimum wage or not. You got so many people out there that is, in need of a job, and you got so many fast food restaurants or other restaurants that are looking for employees that is so easy to get in. You don't have really that many requirements. You don't have to have a college degree to flip a burger. You don't have to have a bachelor's or a master's to go and drop a basket of fries and some hot grease into take an order standing behind the register. You don't need those types of qualifications. So with the way the music industry is now, when you got so many people, an influx of individuals who's going online, becoming viral sensations, with their style of music. I'm not trying to dish nobody or try to sound like I'm being foul or anything or down talking anybody, but with their style of music, they go in there, they start generating a whole bunch of different fans and a whole lot of different plays. Some of them paying for those plays, quiet as kept, but we all know what it is, what I'm saying? And a lot of people are using that to be their launch pad to their success when it comes to being a hip-hop artist, whereas some people, they're not really in it for the right reasons, I should say. They're in it for the reasons that they feel as though it's right for them. And what I mean by that is they're using this as the gateway or the doorway to step through and being able to launch themselves in a light that they can do other things. Prime example for that, and a lot of people may give me a lot of flack for this one, but I can care less. Look at Post Malone, for example. He came out with what that song was, White Iverson. He came out with that song, and even in some interviews and stuff like that, he says it. He's not really a hip-hop artist. So when I say that the hip-hop industry is becoming the fast food business of the entertainment industry, maybe now the way I explained it to you gives you a little context and helps you to understand exactly what I mean by that. Now, I know my point was a little long and drawn out, and that's cool, but I just had to illustrate it for you to understand or take you a little bit inside my thoughts so you can understand exactly how I think when I say things like the music industry is becoming the fast food business of the entertainment industry. If you agree with me, I would love to hear from you. If you don't agree with me, you already know what to do. You can leave it in the comments. You can drop it below. Let me know how you feel, because I know there's a lot of people out there that feel the exact same way, but they either don't have a platform to express their feelings, or they just don't know how, or they are either scared to express and say exactly how they feel. But yes, I do feel the way that I feel about this entire situation. And maybe now, Punk Runner or Net Runner, maybe you can hear this clip played back and maybe have a better understanding of exactly what I meant. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Once again, it's your boy EMillio Wackball here with the Non-Stop Radio Show. And before we go any further, folks, I want y'all all to lock in because we're about to hit you with some of the dopest, freshest, hottest hip-hop and R&B that you may or may not have heard of. So keep it locked right here to the hottest hip-hop and R&B show this side of the net. And who knows, you just may find your next favorite song. Keep it locked.
You're rocking with the hottest underground hip hop and R&B show on this side of the net. This is Non-Stop Radio.
Want to be heard on the Non-Stop Radio Show? Send us your submissions in MP3 format at Let's Network Musically 212@gmail.com.
This is Non-Stop Radio.